In 1967, Jenny Lee, at the time the English Minister of Culture, came to Prague to inaugurate an exhibition of Henry Moore. The director of the Conservatoire, Dr. Václav Holzknecht, insisted that she comes to see my first choreography. My English was almost non-existent, so she spoke very, very slowly. And she said, "I can see that you do not only have it in your legs, but also in your head." And I said, "Thank you very much." It's very, very kind. She organized a scholarship for me to go to London to study with the Royal Ballet School. And imagine, it was the year 1967-68. London was the cultural center of the world, there's no doubt about it. It was much more interesting than Paris, New York, or whatever. It was just the right time of the 20th century. And I, little communist boy from this city, was plunged into the center of world culture. Well, this was fantastic. At the same time, I was reading in the newspapers that the most exciting things were happening here because the Prague Spring was being prepared. And Dubček slowly took over the power, and he wanted to make communism with a human face. I could not wait to come to Prague to share my experiences with my colleagues, with the people here, and to actually experience that political excitement, the new climate that was taking over this city. And indeed, I came here, and this city was liberated. So, huge, huge excitement. My experience in London, coming to a free country, unbelievable. 1 week later, 5 o'clock in the morning, I was still asleep, I hear huge noise in the street. It was the Russian tanks. The shock could not be greater. It was like you are on a skyscraper and suddenly you are in a free fall with a parachute that might not open. That was the feeling. The euphoria of the days before and the depression after was just unbelievable. I cannot describe it. I still was saved by one simple fact, and that is that I signed a contract while I was in London. I signed a contract with John Cranko, who was the director of the Stuttgart Ballet. He was at that time very much a leading choreographer in the world. 1 week, the 28th of August, 68, I took the last train across the border, and I was sure I will never come back. Absolutely sure. It was, the atmosphere was such that we thought that communism was here forever. taking a bow with the great man, John Cranko, who was the director of the Stuttgart Ballet and brought Stuttgart Ballet to an enormous fame. Unfortunately, he died very, very young. He was only 46 years. He was the one who greatly encouraged me to take up choreography and he gave me the opportunities to use the ensemble, to use the time, the orchestra. So he was a very important man in my career. We met in Stuttgart with Sabine. She is my partner since 1973. Sabine's talent, you cannot overlook it. She has a face that speaks such a clear language. She's a wonderful actress, and that she couldn't help, even if she tried to hide it, she couldn't hide it from me. And Sabine is a woman with a great sense of humor. She has a very vulnerable acting quality, very, very sensitive acting quality. And that was obvious from the very beginning. We are rehearsing for the filming of Silent Cries. It's a piece that was dedicated to her beauty, but also to her insecurity and over all the complexes that we carry within us all our lives. And she dances to L'après-midi d'un faune by Debussy, and she actually is facing a piece of glass which is a symbol of a mirror, and through the glass she's looking into the audience and dances behind that glass. In the entire piece she's confronted with herself like we are in the studio. I have great love and compassion for the dancers. Maybe this sounds a little bit strange, but I understand the vulnerability of dancers, and I have great understanding for that. And whenever I can help, I try to do that. So there is this high tension here, break, yes. That's fine. It's beautiful. Some kind of a sign you give, yeah? And, you know, I was thinking of doing the legs one after the other, the arms one after the other, so it's more interesting. Yes. Mais pas trop. Hein? Pas trop. Like you're looking for equilibre. Yeah? You just, there's there is a little earthquake Tremeur de lettres. Privé, même privé. 1/4 mètre, seulement pour toi. This was the very first piece I made in Stuttgart. It was called Paradox, and I danced it myself with Leanne Griffiths. And this opened me a lot of doors. In fact, when Margot Fontaine saw the piece, she really liked it, and she invited us to perform it in London. I was a dancer in Stuttgart, but I started choreographing very, very early on. So the choreography was always at the back of my mind, and it actually started taking over very rapidly my dancer's career. I was determined to be as good as Nureyev, but when I realized I will not be as good as Nureyev, then I thought I better stop. Yeah, when you slide, exactly. When you slide, go a little bit forward so she can go straight behind you, okay? Let me just see that once. With the music. And make sure, well, let's do it with the music, but make sure that you see something over the horizon, yeah? Very curious. Bum, bum, bum. When you lift her, she's moving a little bit. Try to stabilize. You know that one just before that? Try not to move. Right. Right. Yes. You can lift a little bit more the leg. Lift the leg a little bit. 2.5 centimeters. Yeah. You know, people ask me, why do you create so many duets?
Yes.
Pas de deux. Why always two people dance together? And it can be 2 women together, or 2 men together, or man and woman, doesn't matter. But it's really, the explanation is very simple. I always think that if you have some kind of knowledge or some kind of belief, something that you carry inside you, it's worthless unless you share it with somebody. That this kind of communication, to communicate what is hidden deep down inside you, I think it has a very legitimate place, not only in dance, but in our society and in how we deal with one another. If you say there is abstract dance, I don't think there is such thing as abstract dance. Because if you put a human being on the stage who has feelings and loves and hates and has experiences and is made of blood and bones and skin and has a brain and heart, what's abstract about it? As far as I'm concerned, in dance there is no abstraction whatsoever. After 7 years in Stuttgart, I took up the directorship of the Netherlands Dance Theatre in Holland. Sinfonietta was created in 1978, and I actually have not chosen the music, but I must say that I knew the music by heart, because in the Prague Conservatoire where I studied, we were breastfed with music of Janáček. It was part of my country, part of where I came from. When I was choreographing Sinfonietta, I felt that I actually just followed the music. I just made choreographic visualization of the music. So when it was finally premiered in Charleston in 1978, the success was so overwhelming that when this famous fanfare at the end of Sinfonietta comes back again, people were standing on the chairs and they were throwing program books in the air, and they were cheering, so they never heard the music at the end anymore. So it was one of those moments that a very major success can actually turn page in the history of a company, and this is what happened to NDT. From that time on, we were invited to almost anywhere in the world. No, ne, když to bolí, tak se na to vykašli. To je moc. Ne, nech toho, nedělej. Ale kdyby si to vzala, řekne takhle, a jenom ty nožky tak trošku vykopla do vzduchu, tak malinko. I love the tension between younger dancers and older dancers. I think this is wonderful. And when you see them together, you realize what an enormous respect they have for one another. You see the younger dancer who sees a dancer who is now maybe 55, 60, 65, and you see this enormous experience and this personality that is able to do almost nothing on stage and yet keep the attention of the public in a very, very powerful way. This project called NDT3 was actually created for dancers between 40 and death. And, having been director for such a long time, it always felt very tragic to have to say goodbye to someone who's been around for a long, long time. I've decided to create this very, very small group and give them the right to stand on stage in their own age, not pretending to be younger, just being what they are at that moment of their life. It really takes a very long time to become young.
Our life has been so intense, and work is our life. And we live our work. So what we did in those 30 years of working together, let's say, it's so intense that at that time I did not realize that I was so-called the muse, or that I was guiding him maybe to different projects and pieces. It was just doing it with a fantastic enthusiasm, and now when I sit and I think back, it is amazing. Now I actually only see what we did.
Yes. And push it. Wow. And Sabina smiles. You enjoy that bite. And what a bliss. What interests me in this is speed, time, and aging. And this is an interesting concept, because the concept of time is something that we can never understand. The concept of speed is what we cannot understand. And the concept of aging is something we will never understand. So you are playing with three unknown entities, and see how they relate to one another and how they're being perceived from somebody who is detached from that. So I ask people to move an incredibly something that we might call slow motion.
I adore his artistry and his talent of doing different approaches and making a variety of creations that you would not think it's sometimes made by the same artist. This is number one for me. It is very sensual, it is very sad, it's tragic-comic, and the fact that he can be funny in choreography, I adore, or tragic-comic, you find very rare.
It's a strange kind of masquerade of life. And I think this masquerade was understood by Mozart more than by anybody else. I feel that Mozart somehow is telling us that what we are experiencing in life is just a dress rehearsal for something much, much better. Humor is a very serious business, and I think that anybody who wants to create humor in a light way, it doesn't function. People like myself, and I'm talking a little bit about the people that came out of Czechoslovakia, they needed humor for survival, and very often surreal and very often black humor. I think it's very, very typical for people of my country. Very cruel sometimes. Some people accuse me that I'm not specific enough in stating something very definite, but I prefer to leave some possibility of interpretation. So ambiguity is not because I don't know precisely what I want to say, but it is because I want the active participation of the public in whatever I'm presenting to them. Dancers and choreographers are very fragile, very breakable, and we are an endangered species, I think, very much so, because we have decided that we will declare our body as a work of art. And it takes a lot of courage to actually open up and show yourself naked, with all the faults, with all the mistakes, with all the deficiencies that we have. I'm not really interested in answers. I'm much more interested in asking questions as precisely as I can. The next project I want to make is a film. It is a symbol of a room which is a host to many generations which pass through and leave some kind of spirit or addition to the room. And I remember lying in the room and seeing the room lying next to me. And then I lie on my back and I see the ceiling, and I lie on my stomach and I see darkness, and we pass through it and leave the space to somebody else. The subject of being born and dying and doing something in between, and loving and sharing love with others, they are the eternal themes of everything that I have done.